One of the first sock crochet patterns I ever used uses a short row wedge that then turns in to make the heel. And I've been struggling with that. It's pretty complicated. There's lots of other ways of making heels that are easier, but I really like the way these heels turn out and the way they fit. So I decided I needed to practice and just really understand how that heel works. So I have my little practice piece here. It has 36 stitches around, and as I plan my heel, I'll use half of that, and it'll be 18 stitches. And this is the front of the sock. This is just a practice piece. So the toe would normally be down here, but this is the viewed side, the front side, and that's the inside. So set it up like this, and then the heel is going to go along the back there. And I'm just using single crochet here for now. And we're going to start with 18 straight across. And I'm going to mark the very first stitch of the heel with a yellow marker. So we will always know where was that first stitch. And then I'm going to come across 18. 2, 3, 4, 16, 17, and that's 18. And I'm going to mark the last stitch in each row with a blue. And to keep it out of the way, I'm just going to put it through the outside edge there. So there is my first row of my heel. It's got a yellow marking the first stitch, a blue marking the last stitch. So in this pattern, you turn, you don't chain, and you skip the first stitch. And I've seen other patterns where you take the first stitch and then you stop one short of the end. But the key is that you have one less stitch on every row, and that's what makes the wedge. So, okay, skipping the first stitch, which is here, and then going into the second stitch. And I'm going to mark, from now on, I'm going to mark every first stitch with an orange. So that very first stitch we marked with yellow, but now every first stitch in a row is marked with an orange. And since we had 18 across for our first row, we'll have 17 across in this row. And this is 2. And then I will be back with you when I get to the end. Okay, and this is 16, and then 17 goes, and that was the first stitch of the row below. So 17 goes right there. And like I said, I'm going to mark my last stitch with the blue, and this will become apparent why when we start to turn, do not chain, skip the first stitch, go into the second. I'm going to mark my first stitch with an orange. Okay, so that was 17 stitches in that row, so this one will be 16 stitches. And I will get back with you when I get closer to being done with my wedge. 9. And again, the last one goes in the first stitch of the prior row. So there's 10. And so this pattern had us start with 18 stitches on the first row, and then it has us end with 10. You could end at 9. That's a common way to do it. It's just cut it in half. But this is where we are now when we're ready to start turning in. So could have gone to 9. I think it would still come out balanced. As we look at this here, look at our starting stitches are orange, And on this side, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 orange stitches, and then the very first starting stitch, so that's 5 total. And then over here, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 4 orange starting stitches. But ending stitches are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side, and 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side. So we started over here, there's an end, a second start, a second end, third start, third end, and it goes back and forth, and we are finishing our 10 on the side opposite of where our very first stitch was. And again, I'm still thinking about all the math here, and if it matters if we had gone to 9. If I had gone to 9 instead of 10, then I would have ended over here on the same side as this one, and I'd have one more starting orange over here. And I think it doesn't matter that much. I think you can still turn it all in. So now it's time to turn it in. And this pattern will call for chain 1, turn, and then don't skip a stitch. Go in the very first stitch, which is marked with my blue, so that, and then go all 10 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and so the 10th stitch goes in my orange marker here. That was the first stitch in the row below. There's my 10th. I can get rid of this now. It doesn't do anything for us. And now we're going to start turning in by doing a slip stitch into the starting marker, which ends up being 2 rows below. And to me, this is not, it's not intuitive. I'm not sure I see it. I think that's a knot of a row, and then that's the second row. So to turn in, we're going to go where that orange marker is. Do a slip stitch. Pull that all the way through. There's our slip stitch. We can now get rid of this orange. And now I'm going to chain 1, turn, and go into my first stitch. And it's hard to see. It's a little hard to see. I think this guy's interfering. We'll get rid of him. Kind of hard to see. I know I'm going to be doing 11 stitches across here. So 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the one right here. And with my sock yarn, I kept trying to go into the slip stitch, and I was doing increases. You know, I ended up with like too many stitches at the end. So okay, but this will be good for 11. One, 2, 3, 4, 10, and then it's. You really can see this last stitch. It's truly a last stitch. There's a knot there. So there's my 11. I'm going to get rid of this blue, which is marking the end of the row below, which I don't really care about. I'm only going to do my slip stitches into the orange marked stitches, which are 2 rows down. So going right in there. Pull that up. I can get rid of my orange marker now. Chain 1. And now I'm going to do 12 across here. So I don't think you have to see all of this. I'll get back to you in a minute. And you can see how this heel is taking shape at this point. That was 15. Okay, that was 16. And get rid of this one row down. And the pattern actually says at this point, I should be back to my first stitch. And that is my first heel stitch right there. So that's promising. Do a slip stitch into that. Chain, turn, and now we need 17 to get back. 16, 17. And then at 17, this is just like all the others had been. I think now we're picking up the beginning of the actual second row that we did, and we'll just slip stitch in there. So we've done 17 across there. I haven't restored my 18. I think I'm down to 35 stitches now. The pattern says, though, I'm looking at the right side of my sock, which I am, side of the next stitch. So I'm going to call that the side. I'm just going to do a crochet there. And then it says to go into the space where the very last stitch of the heel was, and that's this stitch right here. So we've just added 2 stitches. So if I was at 35, now I'm at 37. And now we crochet across the top of the sock. $17, and I'll be darned, that's 18. That's just what it should be. And now, next is I should take a stitch into the next space, which is the same as the first stitch of the heel. And I left my first stitch marker there just for this reason, so that I would know I was in the right spot. So as I go into that space, I think I can get rid of that now, and then actually go into the last stitch of the heel, which I'm interpreting as that. And then that should be it. You can see this, I like the shape. You know, you get a good heel shape with this approach. It all looks pretty darn good. There's all kinds of wiggle room as you're coming up into the ankle to do increases or decreases to get things where you want them to be. So now the question is, can I duplicate this with sock yarn and smaller needles? We shall see. Okay, well, here's the real sock with a 2.5 millimeter needle and the size 1 yarn. And I think the heel came out pretty good. This is the pattern that's herringbone half double crochet. Gosh, you can just see what a difference it is. The sock yarn. Yeah, here we go. Getting our herringbone half double crochets. Wow, it's just so much smaller. But it makes a really nice sock. Anyway, hope it helped. I know it helped me. There's Crochet Kitty.